Hi, I'm the Mothman, and today we'll be talking about lighting. More importantly, the three kinds of lights that I personally use. We'll be looking at this light here, which is the main light I have over my windowsill, and then there's these three lights here, which I have in a kind of storage area, and then finally there's this light here, which I use for my fish tank. One of the most important things about lighting is the specific wavelengths. When you're speaking about lighting to supply plants with energy, you want mostly lots of red light and lots of blue light. Some basic science information. When you look at a plant, it's green, usually. Most parts of most plants are green. Right, and the cell that turns sunlight into energy uses chlorophyll, which is green. Now, when you see green, what you're actually seeing is just the reflected wavelengths of the sunlight. So you're seeing green, and the way light works is a little different from how you learned your primary colors in school. So when you heard your primary colors, you may have thought like red, blue, yellow, right? Well, when it comes to light, you actually have red, blue, green, or red, green, blue, RGB, it doesn't matter. What's important though is your plant is reflecting that green light, right? So, get it out of here. That means it's absorbing lots of red light and lots of blue light, and it's using that energy to grow. Now, what this means is if we want a good grow light for our plants, we want to have both of those. We want lots of red, we want lots of blue. And usually there's green light in there. For a light like this light here, which I'm using to light myself pretty harshly right now, it's a halogen light. So what this emits, if you were to look at a color spectrum, it would look something like this. It emits lots and lots of red light. And then as you start to get away from the red light, it goes down and down and down, and emits very little or no blue light. So that means it wouldn't really be a great light for your plants. Now, speaking of this light, I'm going to move to somewhere that's a little more, just better in general. Alright. Okay, so here we are, in a slightly better lighting situation, where you can see my windowsill grow light in action. All three of the lights that I use for growing are LEDs, primarily just because it's cheap and it's what I can afford. Yeah, cheap LED grow lights. There's different levels of them, but obviously like most things, what you pay for is what you get. So this one is probably my most expensive grow light, and boy does it put out a lot of light, like a lot that I can see at least. I basically don't ever use the light in my room just because the grow light is so powerful, and obviously it supplements the daylight, right? So now that it's dark out, the light is on. And when it's light out, I don't need to turn the light on in my room. So yeah, so basically I never have to turn the light on. Always supplements the daylight, obviously for the plants. Yeah, that was a side note. But yeah, so this is a really powerful LED, or a series of LEDs. With LED lights, the thing that you have to pay attention to is you can't just get like one LED, because an LED will emit a very specific wavelength. So if we want that full range of colors, we want those reds to blues for these plants to absorb and reflect, then we're going to need a bunch of different LEDs. So on camera it's very white looking, but perhaps the picture or maybe some different footage I have in here, you can see that if you look at it, you can make out distinct like red LEDs in there. And if you looked at the actual labels in the LED, you would see that there's a whole bunch of different kinds. And it just looks like white light to the camera. Which is kind of like the sunlight too, right? The sunlight is a whole bunch of different wavelengths together, and that all makes white light. Let me show you my other lighting setup. Just over here. So you can see that this light here, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but this light here is a little bit less intense. Like even the combined lighting of 3 of these LED strips is less intense than the one that's up on my windowsill. These are cheap, like pretty cheap. I think I spent 20 bucks on them combined. But the nice thing about them is there's a timing circuit. It's all attached pre-attached to a timing circuit. So I can click the like 12-hour button at 8 o'clock in the morning and this thing will go from 8 to 8. Now the reason that this one goes from 8 to 8 instead of like supplementing light is because it's in a shelf, right? The actual light coming from the window, because of the square cube law, the amount of like light that these plants can use coming from the window is basically negligible. I chose a 12-hour photo period. If you want to get into the nitty-gritty of stuff, you're gonna have to like calculate photosynthetically active radiation. You want to know how long your photo period's gonna be, which is essentially how long the plants are exposed to light in a day. And then you have to kind of balance the amount of radiation that they're getting versus the duration of time they're getting the radiation for. Kind of like baking food. Like you put your pizza in, and if you put it in really hot for a short amount of time, you're going to burn it. Even if it technically gets like the same amount of heat as if you put it in for a really low amount of time, or a really low temperature for a long amount of time. Doesn't really matter. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm just going to tell you what I do, and I'm certainly not a professional. So yeah, take my word for what it's worth, which is not a lot. But I can grow plants, so it's worth something. Yeah, a little bit. Anyways, so that's my second light here. I've got one light kind of on the inside support, one over here, one in the back, and then one on the other side. So these lights, essentially, so $20 lights, kind of but they serve the function I need them to serve. They're on for a long amount of time because this area doesn't get enough light from the window, and also because they're worse lights, I need to use them for longer. It's that idea of like low temp, longer cook. The light up there runs for, I think maybe like 4 hours out of the day, and most of the light coming in is daylight. I might have to set it for longer because obviously the days keep getting shorter, but almost December 21st, so yeah, by then it'll be the shortest and the days will just start getting longer, right? So, or at least I think, I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. Anyways, I have one last light to show you, and then, yeah, I'll just get to that, and let's show you that. Alright, so the final light here I have is the light on my aquarium. This thing, I don't know if you can tell, probably, oh, you can kind of. This one you can see it's LED as well, but you can see there's blue lights in there. And yeah, this serves essentially the exact same function as all of the other ones do. And yeah, I'm growing aquatic plants, right? So they all need, oh hello, say hello to the snail friends. I'm yet to name them, so put in the comments what names you would give to these fellas. That's kind of a side note. Usually they're not this close together. Take a picture of that. Anyways, so I'm growing a bunch of plants in here using this light and a little bit of algae, which I'm letting grow just because I like kind of the look of it and where it's growing. But essentially, yeah, this light runs kind of, it has the same function as the other smaller light I have over there in the cupboard area, because I don't want this tank getting daylight, because that grows algae in a way that I can't control. However, if I keep this on a timer, which I believe this is 12 hours as well, this is a 12-hour light. Yeah, it runs from 8 to 8. So we got two 12-hour LED setups. This light is a little more expensive than the like shelf light, but it's less expensive than the larger light I have over my windowsill. So yeah, that's that light. Alright, and that's my my quick light overview for the lights that I own and use. I forgot to mention probably that, of course, most people won't be using lights like this because, as I said, if you want a good light, it's a decent financial investment, and or at least for someone like me, it's a decent financial investment. So if you're going to be growing your own plants, and you're growing perhaps a lot of plants, or you have one very delicate plant that you need some sort of light supplement for it, then perhaps consider the options I have. I think I can find the links for the things and put them in the description if you guys are really interested. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're feeling really generous, leave a like. Alright, thanks. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!